Let's not sugarcoat this. If your people aren't hitting their numbers and you're only realizing it during performance reviews, that's on you. Missed KPIs, quotas not met, output below plan, productivity is slipping. None of that shows up overnight. The review, that's just where the leadership finally has to look at reality. The numbers were warning you long before that meeting ever happened, and most leaders just weren't paying attention. Here's what usually goes down: a review cycle rolls around, and suddenly everyone's confused. Why isn't productivity where it should be? Why are we missing our targets? Why does revenue look fine on paper, but the bottom line tells a different story? Leaders are frustrated, employees, they're defensive. But the truth, the numbers were there. The metrics were flashing red for months. The problem, it wasn't noticing or ignoring it or thinking pressure would magically fix it. And the longer you wait, the worse it gets. Not just the results, but in trust. I lived this. I worked for a company that had KPIs for everything: dashboards, productivity boards, metrics, all of it. The board was almost always red. The manager demanded performance loudly, public callouts, threats. Fear was the strategy. The message was clear: hit the numbers or else. But here's the thing: no one was shown how to win. No coaching, no guidance, no leadership. So people, they survived. They gamed the metrics and they burnt out. And the board stayed red. Then review time came: PIPs, terminations, and resignations. Leadership acted surprised as if the numbers had betrayed them. But nothing was a surprise. Metrics without leadership don't drive performance, they drive fear. And that fear, it kills results long before anyone schedules a review. This is why I tell leaders to zoom out before rushing to fix performance. Problems like this don't exist in isolation. They're shaped by onboarding, leadership behavior, how expectations are set, reinforced, and corrected. Most of my work is helping organizations step back and see where the breakdowns actually started before metrics turn red and everyone panics. It's not about clarity, not quick fixes. Here's the uncomfortable truth: a lot of leaders think having KPIs means they're leading. It doesn't. KPIs only measure results, leadership shapes behavior. When onboarding is rushed, when expectations are implied or instead of defined, when feedback only shows up at review time, people protect themselves, they play defense. Shortcuts happen, engagement drops, burnout shows up. Just like that team I worked on, fear based leadership looks like performance for a while until it collapses. That's what most underperforming teams actually are: a system of failing quietly long before the review board lights up. So, what actually works? First, you need to define success early, operationally, not do your best, not be accountable. That stuff sounds nice, but it doesn't help anyone perform. People need to know exactly what winning looks like in their role, what numbers actually matter, what good output actually is, what happens when they are on track, and what happens when they are not. And here's why this matters: people cannot hit targets they don't fully understand. They'll work hard, they'll stay busy, but they'll be aiming at the wrong target. When success isn't clearly defined, people don't stop working, they start guessing. And guesswork in business shows up as missed KPIs, inconsistent productivity, and dashboards that never quite turn green. You end up with a lot of effort and very little alignment. And leadership sits there wondering why the board is still red, even though everyone looks busy. That's why clarity isn't a nice to have, it's a performance requirement. Second, coach the numbers, not just punish them. A lot of managers think if they push harder, performance will improve. More urgency, more threats, more reminders that the numbers matter. But pressure without guidance doesn't fix anything, it just makes people anxious. When you tell someone they're missing the number, but you never show them how to hit it, you're not leading, you're just adding stress to your team. And stress, it doesn't produce better work, it produces shortcuts. People start gaming the metrics. They focus on what looks good instead of what actually matters. They stop raising their hand when something's broken because attention feels dangerous. I've lived this. I've worked under a leader who thought fear was motivation. Miss the number, get called out. Miss it again, start worrying about your job. Nobody coached them, nobody developed them. They were just expected to magically figure it out under pressure. And the result? Productivity didn't improve. The board stayed red. People disengaged quietly long before the review time. That's the cost of pressure without any guidance. You don't get accountability, you get self protection. Third, make performance conversations continuous. This is where a lot of leaders quietly lose people. When feedback only shows up once or twice a year, or even when there is a dumpster fire, it doesn't feel helpful. It feels like a trap. Someone works for months thinking they're doing okay. No one says much, no real correction, no course guidance. Then review time hits and suddenly everything's wrong. That's not leadership, that's an ambush. And the cost shows up fast. You lose trust, you lose engagement, and you start losing good people who would have fixed the issue earlier if anyone had bothered to talk to them. From a business standpoint, this is expensive. Small misses turn into big misses. Revenue leaks quietly. Morale drops long before anyone admits there's a problem, and reviews turn into what everyone secretly dreads. Not development conversations, but exit conversations. Nobody is going to win this way. Here's a mistake that most leaders make. They see missed numbers and react fast. More tools, more training, more pressure. But without clarity, all that does is exhaust your people and erodes the trust. Real improvement starts by understanding where performance is being shaped, from onboarding to leadership behaviors to performance, not by panicking at review time. Fix the system first, everything else comes after. If this sounds familiar, it might be worth a conversation. Shoot me an email. Tell me what's going on, what numbers are getting missed, what targets keep slipping, where things feel off. We'll look at your numbers and see what they're actually telling you and where performance is really being shaped inside of your organization. Onboarding, leadership, execution, or maybe all three. Once you see that clearly, the next step usually it becomes obvious and you stop wasting time fixing the wrong thing. Before you go, think about this. What metric in your organization turns red long before anyone starts paying attention? Drop it in the comments. If this, if it hit close to home, hit like, subscribe, and stick around. Because before any training, tools, or fixes can work, leaders have to understand how onboarding, leadership, and performance systems are actually functioning today. That's where real performance starts.